Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. And welcome to another new moon, new month, which Yahweh has allowed for us to have here at the United Congregation of Israel. For those who may have been joining us for the first time and have not partaken in a new moon class as yet, new moon is another observation that Yahweh has given to the children of Israel to observe. What a new moon signifies is a new month. As the sun went down, we also observed the Shabbat. So as the new moon, if you look up in the sky, it'll be in darkness, began a new month. And also this new day began in darkness. The title of tonight's class is Knowledge of the Weaker Vessel. Knowledge of the Weaker Vessel. Upon entering into a relationship, how many of us can say we were upfront with the other person, letting them know our likes and our dislikes, our expectations, our aspirations, the highs and lows of our past, our spiritual beliefs, and most of all, our strength and our weaknesses? How many of us still haven't told the person we have been with for years these same things, or even that some of these things have changed over the years? Let's begin in 1 Peter chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7.
Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may, without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair, or wearing of gold, or putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim great price. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also, who trust in Elohim, adorn themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters ye are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement.
So there's an aspiration for after this manner. In the old time, the holy women also trusted in Elohim. So if he's saying in the old time, that means something has changed. So how much more has the changed from when this was written to where we're at now? Are we able to spot the holy women and tell who the holy women are? And that's one thing I have to say, that from me getting into this word, you could tell the difference in the sisters than the brothers, because the sisters dressed themselves and adorned themselves and walked in a righteous manner. But it was the brothers who came however we want to show up, until the priest said, no, we looking like we going to the ball game, and forced the change on the men. When we go out, we see a difference in the way our women look versus the women of the world. But the question still stands. If he's saying in the old times, and we know for us this is old, what has changed from then till now? Go ahead.
Verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
It says, likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. If you're looking at the picture here, it says knowledge. How many of us take time out to understand one another? And that's on both sides in the relationship. Not just the man understanding the woman, but the woman understanding the man. If you're looking at the picture, what it's showing is that she's upset because he brought him flowers. She's not into flowers. Do we stop and say, okay, what are you into? What do you like? What do you want me to bring you? Let's all be honest. I've been there. I brought flowers. Now I don't want no flowers. I don't do flowers. You got to figure out what she likes. That starts the knowledge. Some women like chocolates. Some like flowers. Some rather fruits. Are we stopping to figure it out, or we just go with the norm? Because that's what they show us on TV. You bring her flowers. You bring her flowers. No, the knowledge is asking, but it goes both ways. And I definitely know I've been a victim of that. That's me right there, like, damn, I done messed up again. But if we don't ask each other questions, then we keep making that mistake. And I'm not going to say I'm going to make a few more, but you know what I'm saying? As we go, we start to realize that, okay, this person is not like that person. And that's the sad thing about the society that we were raised in. We were raised up in this thing where you got boyfriend and girlfriend. And then you get used to the attributes of one person. And then that relationship ends, and then you move on with this next person, and you trying to take that same thought process of what this one liked over here to this and find yourself in trouble. I've heard a couple of times, no, wrong woman. Damn. For real? That's where we got to realize there's a difference in boyfriend and girlfriend and husband and wife. As Hebrew Israelites, we don't do boyfriend and girlfriend. What's the saying? It's either you're married or you fornicate. My brother, can you read the definition for honor, please?
Honor, H1431, gadal, a primitive root, properly to twist, compare, H1434, that is, to be, causatively make, large, in various senses, as in body, mind, estate, or honor, also in pride, advance, boast, bring up, exceed, excellent, be, become, do, give, make, wax, great, greater, come to, estate, things, grow up, increase, lift up, magnify, magnifical, be much set by, nourish up, pass, promote, proudly spoken, tower.
Now, proudly spoken, how many of us actually proudly speak about our spouses? It says, likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. As most of us men begin to walk in the culture given unto the children of Israel, we tend to grab hold of certain things that solidify our status as the man, with a death grip, and swing it like a wrecking ball, ready to destroy anyone that stands against it. One such example is in 1 Timothy chapter 2. So let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 11 through 12.
First Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 through 12. Let the woman learn in silence, with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
And these are things, all we need to do is grab a hold of something that says, you can't talk to me. Who are you talking to? And we run with it. But the whole thing is, how do you deal with it? Like I said, we grab hold of these things and we want to swing it like a wrecking ball and destroy any and everything in the way, and sometimes destroying relationships. We also as men have to learn what it says, to be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. So you have to learn how to also initiate things without swinging the wrecking ball. And then there's times when you're going to have to swing the wrecking ball. But that's where we also have to start to learn knowledge of the weaker vessel. And what things you're going to have to swing the wrecking ball for. We can't swing the wrecking ball for everything. Can you read the definition for usurp there?
Usurp, G831, authenteo, from a compound of G846, don't know what that is, obsolete, a worker, to act of oneself, that is, figuratively dominate, usurp authority over.
All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14. First Corinthians chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 34 through 40.
Let your women keep silent in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church. What? Come the word of Elohim out from you, or come it unto you only? If any man think himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of Yahweh.
Now, verse 35, and if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. But are you that husband that she can talk to? Are you knowledgeable? Or are you trying to push your own agenda? Are you the one that can say, you know what? Let's put that in the parking lot. Let me go talk to the priest. I'm not sure of that. Or are you going to make up something just so you can be the man and have something to say? At this point, are you afraid because your weakness might show? I'd rather my weakness show and still be on the path of salvation than to create something that's going to cause harm to my whole house spiritually. Because I couldn't show the weakness, which is being strong enough to say, I don't know. But some of us will see that as a weakness, instead of realizing it takes strength to say, I don't know. But I will find out for you, and I'll get back to you. Go ahead.
Wasn't that it?
All the way to 40. Did you go to 40? Okay, yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't. But if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. Wherefore, brethren, covet the prophecy, and forbid not to speak with tongues. Let all things be done decently and in order.
All things be done decently and in order. So that means if you don't know, the decency is to go and find out. Say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that. Read the definition for ignorant for me, please. It says that if a man be ignorant, let him be ignorant.
Ignorant, G50, agneo, from G1 as a negative particle, and G3539, not to know through lack of information or intelligence, by implication, to ignore through disinclination, be ignorant, ignorantly, not know, not understand, unknown.
And there it is. If you don't know, you don't know. Why make up something just to give an answer? It makes no sense. Because then what happens if you just give an answer, and then when the right answer comes out, then how do you look? Within the definition, not to know through lack of information or intelligence. That's another one. Can we admit that I lack intelligence? I think most of us, that's an ego bruiser right there. I'm just not that intelligent. What Forrest Gump say? I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. All right, the man admit, I'm not that smart, but I know this. Stick with what you know. What if you are this ignorant man? Can you accept it and deal with it? We don't have knowledge of all things, neither do we care for all things, which means that the woman is not always the weaker vessel in all situations. We have to accept and embrace our better yet honor. We have to accept and embrace, or better yet, honor them in their strengths, as long as they understand and do not use that strength as a means to dominate over the man. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 13 through 15. It's 1 Timothy chapter 2. We're going to read verses 13 through 15.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and love and holiness with sobriety.
Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and love and holiness with sobriety. In this situation, it was the woman that was deceived. But what happens when it is the man that has been or is being deceived? Should she then be as Adam and just go along? As men, we don't consider being deceived because we hold fast to the belief that the woman is the weaker vessel. What happens when she is the one with the stronger spiritual fortitude? Are we able to recognize it, and can we accept it for what it is, or do we allow for the whole house to crumble spiritually because of our weakness and lack of understanding? Let's go to Acts chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. Acts chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12.
But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira his wife, sold a possession and kept back a part of the price, his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. But Cephas said, Ananias, why hath Satan filled thine heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back part of the price of the land? While it remained, was it not thine own? And after it was sold, was it not in thine own power? Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto me, but unto men, but unto Elohim.
Now, do we consider that? Cephas said, Ananias, why have Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back part of the price of the land? He was talking to men. He was talking to men when he told this lie. But what Cephas said, you've lied to the Holy Spirit. Do we consider our conversations? Do we consider the answers that we're given when we're given answers? Do we only think that the angel is around when we entreat the angel to come in here? Do we forget that there's one with the writer's inkhorn standing right next to you right now and everything? Or are you just looking at that? Man, that's just Timmy. I just lied to Timmy. It's all good. Go ahead.
And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost, and great fear came on all them that heard these things.
Now, what if that happened in front of us? Is this what needed to happen for us, or some of us to straighten up? Somebody just lie and just fall out. But you know us, it's gonna be some scientific excuse. You know, he was suffering from his heart palpitations. He had problems from he was a kid. It was bound to happen. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Verse 6. And the young men arose, wound him up, and carried him out, and buried him. And it was about the space of 3 hours after, when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And Cephas answered unto her, Tell me, whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, Yeah, for so much.
3 hours. That means she had time to think about what they did, what they agreed to. And the thing about it is he was not around. So she could have told the truth. It's not like he's standing there looking at her. He ain't there. Nah, you know what? Nah. That was a lie. He told me to agree to this. But do we go along with the thing and let the whole house crumble? Do we not see the whole house has been crumbling from the beginning because of just going along? Adam could have stood up, but he went along and the house crumbled. They were in paradise. They had no need of anything. But because he decided to just go along, now, by the sweat of your brow is how you shall eat bread. That has never changed. We have a land that we're not in the land, but even when we get back in the land, guess what? That stipulation that was set in the garden still stands to then. By the sweat of your brow is how you're going to eat bread. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Then Cephas said unto her, How is it that ye have agreed together to tempt the Holy Spirit of the Adonai? Behold, the feet of them which have buried thy husband are at the door, and shall carry thee out.
So you agreed together. So when the agreement was made, you already tempted the Holy Spirit. It wasn't when they told the lie. It's when they made the agreement. In the process of making the agreement, what did we hear before? Hey man, before your prayer was even prayed, Yahweh sent me. Think about it. It says we will have to give an account even for our thoughts. Go ahead.
Then fell she down straightway at his feet, and yielded up the ghost. And the young men came in, and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband.
So let me see. The husband died 3 hours ago. He fell down, and he had heart complications throughout his life. And she fell down 3 hours later, and I guess, she was eating too much greasy food, so she had problems too. We just gonna scientifically chalk it up, they ate bad. That's what we do. We won't look at that and say, you know what, hey man, hey, let me straighten up. It's amazing how we see people get put out and still yet the foolishness will continue. People will come here and hear about previous individuals and still somehow put themselves in harm's way to be out the door. Some I've got to wonder if it's intentional. They've been here long enough and they want to move on, but you don't have to just quietly go away. There's no need to make a ruckus. Just quietly go away, and you could be more respected that way by just quietly going away than continuing to throw your innuendos and your thoughts and what I think and what I feel and what I believe into the atmosphere. At least if you go away quietly and Yahweh finds it fit to deal with you, and you can recognize your own faults, you might be able to say, you know what, I'd like to come back. What happened? Then we'd say, well, what happened? Why you stopped coming? Well, you know, I was going through some issues that I needed to deal with. But when you throw yourself out there on front page as if you're some great one, you're limiting your chances to ever be able to come back into the sheepfold. Why can't we just quietly agree to disagree and move on? Go ahead. That was it, right?
No, one more verse.
You go ahead.
And great fear came upon all the church and upon as many as heard these things. That's it.
And great fear came upon all the church. And this is what I'm talking about. Where is the fear when y'all hear what people go through? How is it that someone has a question of how you go about putting people out of here? I don't. They put themselves out. But like I said, it would be best if you just quietly said, you know what, I'm lacking understanding right now. This doesn't make any sense to me. Let me just go deal with myself and pray that Yahweh will help me. More than you come in here and show your parts as you trying to exit. In this situation, I've seen several relationships whereby far the woman was stronger academically than the man. In one of those relationships, the man seemed strong in his spiritual role, but he could not see that the woman was truly the one directing his house. By seeming to submit to him, it made him comfortable in his belief. This same woman would try and assert dominance over the men of the congregation, which came by the conditioning of a job that she once had. But she would do it as if in a joking manner. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 25, pardon me. You know, sometimes we're dealing with you on certain things, and as I'm writing things down, I'm like, nah, I don't know if I'm going to touch those. And then it comes back, you know what? Hey, man, you go ahead and show fear in front of them if you want to. Then I'm going to deal with you. So Yahweh didn't bring certain things back to my remembrance for me to go and say, you know what, I'm not going to talk about that. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it more than he deal with me. How about that? And y'all will be talking about me. Y'all see what Yahweh did to Kish? First Samuel chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 13 through 39.
And David said unto his men, Gird ye up every man his sword. And they gird on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he riled on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us, both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial, that a man cannot speak to him.
So what happens if the whole house is like this? Sometimes we push, and we get to where the woman is as bad as the man that you can't even talk to her. What would have happened to this household if there was no heads that they could go to and talk to? Do we understand what would have happened? But in our lack of understanding, sometimes as men, we push our women to be hard like us, and then nobody in the house can be reached. Go ahead.
Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses.
And you know, the situation I just talked about earlier with the woman who would try to usurp authority over the brothers, and that was the same situation. It was hard to talk to the man of the house, and it was hard to talk to the woman of the house. They were so dense that nobody could reach them. And then it trickled into the kids. So where's the hope of saving the house? I listen to my children in certain situations. Because sometimes I don't see me and they see it. Hey, I've been hard on the boys, and my daughter comes. Perfect timing is a good thing, though. She'll wait till later on when I've calmed down and come in. You know, Dad, you ain't really have to go that deep on him, you know what I'm saying? He was just, okay, yeah, I hear you. All right, I got you. But what if the children can't even come and talk to me? Where's the hope for the house if nobody can be reached? Go ahead.
Verse 19. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the cover of the hill, and behold, covert of the hill. And behold, Dawid and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now Dawid had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertaineth unto him. And he hath requited me of evil for good.
Now, even in this spiritual walk, we have said the same thing. Surely in vain we have kept all this fellow has. Dragged them for years. Kept putting up with their crap. Just to realize in the end it was all in vain. Go ahead.
So and more also do Elohim unto the enemies of Dawid, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall. And when Abigail saw Dawid, she hastened and lightened off the ass, and fell before Dawid on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my master, upon me let this lawlessness be, and let thy handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid.
Here's a woman who is willing to take the burden of the house upon herself. What does it say? If the unbelieving wants to stay, let them stay, as long as they're not hindering your walk, as long as they're not trying to inject their own thought process. Who knows, O wife, if you may save a husband? Who knows, O man, if you may save your wife? She just came and took the whole thing, said, put it all on me. So what we want to say, she the weaker vessel? Go ahead.
Let not my master, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But in thine handmaid saw not the young men of my master, whom thou didst sin.
Now, let's even think about this. When something goes wrong in the house, who Yahweh comes to? The man, he's the head of the house. Here's the woman saying, put it on me. I'm going to take the blame. Do we know who we have beside us? Do we honor who we have beside us if they're striving for this? Will we let them stand there if we know we can't stand there? Do we understand wherein our prayers may be hindered? Go ahead.
Now therefore, my master, as Yahweh liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing Yahweh hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hands, now let thine enemies, and they that seek evil of my master, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my master, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my master. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for Yahweh will certainly make my master a sure house, because my master, fighting the battles of Yahweh, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee and to seek thy soul, but the soul of my master shall be bound in the bundle of life, with Yahweh thy Elohim, and the soul of thine enemies. Them shall be slung out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when Yahweh shall have done to my master according to all the good things that he has spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel.
See, my brother, and the souls of your enemies, them shall he sling out as out of the middle of a sling. See, that's what happened when we trying to use the Queen's English. This is how you know this our people. Sling out, not slung out, sling out.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Verse 31. That this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my master, either that thou hast shed blood causelessly, or that my master hath avenged himself. But when Yahweh shall have dealt well with my master, then remember thine handmaid. And Dawid said to Abigail, Blessed be Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me.
Listen to all the things that she said and kept putting Yahweh into it. Is there some spiritual fortitude there? Some strength of the understanding of how Yahweh deals in being able to recognize a servant of Yahweh and give the servant of Yahweh the due respect? Do we stop and listen to the words that come out of people's mouths? Or do we have respect of persons? Woman, you can't tell me nothing. I'm the man. Okay, and if you lack it understanding, you lack it understanding. Go ahead.
And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which hath kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed, as Yahweh Elohim of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hast hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. And Dawid received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace in thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king, and Nabal's heart was merry with him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that Yahweh smote Nabal, that he died. And when Dawid heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be Yahweh, that hath plead the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. For Yahweh hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And Dawid sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife.
So from one encounter, one conversation, Dawid remembered this woman and the attributes of this woman and said, I want that woman after her husband was dead. So he found some strength there, because it took strength to get herself up as quick as possible and get to him, the king, with his soldiers. She was the only woman there and took the brunt of everything on her shoulder. David saw the strength in the weaker vessel and decided, I need that strength on my team. In another instance, there was the woman who constantly threw the man under the bus in every bad situation, while he would try and protect her in all her wrongdoings. He stomped around as if he was king of the hill, while trying to push past every boundary set forth in the church. Sad to say, this man was humiliated by his wife while she was having a conversation with another brother. As he stood by trying to interject into the conversation, she kept overriding his input. He finally was heard saying, I'm the man, I'm the man. Let's go to Acts chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 24 through 28. Acts chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 24 through 28. Being a male don't make you the man.
And a certain Yehudi, named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man, and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the ways of Yahweh, and being fervent in the spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of Yahweh, knowing only the baptism of Yohanan. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom, when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him onto them and expounded unto him the ways of Elohim more perfectly.
And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him onto them. So this is a team, husband and wife working together for the benefits of Yahweh's house. What is your team made of? What is your team built of? He ain't say, hey, woman, you shut your mouth. You ain't got nothing to say. It said they took him. They expounded onto him. So that means that man also knows the strength that his wife has, right? But we gonna teamwork this thing together. Some people build a team and it's all one-sided. What is a team if everything is all defense? What is your team if it's all offense? That's why certain games, you look at certain games, there ain't no change in the sides. Those games are more vigorous. Soccer is one of them games. You might be playing defense one minute, and next minute you playing offense. You don't get a break. But how are you building your team? Do you understand the strength of the team and the weakness of the team? Sometimes we want to be the whole team. I tried it. Yeah, I'm working, I'm making the money. I'll take care of the bills. Boy, a couple of times my wife said, excuse me, why is this bill late? Huh? What? That bill is late. Oh. I'll take care of it. Next month, same bill late again. I realized, you know what? Let me leave this to her. You can have these bills. That's her strength. I'm trying to be the whole team. What's that sense of having team members if I'm trying to be the whole team? What's the sense of having a house, you, the wife, and children, and y'all the ones still washing the dishes, cleaning up everything, and the kids just looking at y'all like, yeah, this is the life. Yeah. Go ahead and drop that and they'll clean it up. You add to the team to lessen the work. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he was come, helped them much, which had believed through grace. For he mightily convinced the Yehudi and the publicly show. Hold on, did I go too far? No. Publicly showing by the scriptures that Yahshua was the Mashiach.
All right. The one that is the most troubling is the one where the man thought he had the spiritual aptitude to silently reteach the woman against the things they were both learning in the congregation. To achieve this, several things had to take place. She was academically stronger, and he knew this, but she was not spiritually grounded. She knew her position and role, so she reverenced him and did not try to usurp authority. This allowed for him to break her mentally and spiritually. The ingestion of two different doctrines all at once led to a breaking point and the opening to demonic possession. As it is stated, you cannot serve two masters. The woman was eventually able to break free mentally and spiritually and cling to the congregation for strength. Hallelujah. The man stood fast in his own unbelief, so a parting of ways became necessary from the congregation. Let's get to the conclusion, Proverbs chapter 31, and we're going to read verses 10 through 28. Proverbs chapter 10, and we're going to read Proverbs chapter 31, and we're going to read verses 10 through 28.
Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She gird her loins with strength, and strengthen her arms.
You know, as we're going through this is something that the younger, and I shouldn't just say the younger women, some of the older women need to take heed to this as well. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. That means she is willing to go out and do what's necessary to help to provide. She is like the merchant's ships. She brings her food from far. That means she don't care what the destination is. She gonna go where she gotta go to be able to bring home food for the family. She rises also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. This is the woman of the house. She's cooking for everybody, and she's got maids. There's maidens. These are other people that will be saying, nah, you need to get up and go ahead and make some food for us. But she's willing to provide for everybody. This generation is a different generation of people. I've heard elders said, you know what, when he went to stay with his grandmother there, he said, I want one of those. I don't know what that is, but I want one of those. I can tell you all, my mom is 70-something years old, and she get up in the morning, I'd be like, you crazy, I'm going to sleep. I'll still be asleep. But what? It's that's instilled in that generation. She's up because she knows this one got to go to school, this one going to work at certain times. So by the time they get up, everything is ready. You know what, man, you better make you some cereal and then take your behind on out the door. It's a different generation of people. But what has happened? We're so busy chasing this American dream that the house is falling apart. We're so busy trying to survive in this place that the old ways have gone out the door. The structure's no longer there. And for those of us who make the sacrifice to try to keep this in order, we can all tell you, you know what, if everybody went to work, our finances would look better. But do we take finances over family bond and unity? Because I tell you what, if we go ahead and look at the finances, and let's look how degenerate our children gonna be. Because now we're leaving them to the mercy of the world. As most of us can attest that we were left to the mercy of the world. We are that generation who's trying to change that, a lot of us. And Yahweh be praised for the opportunity that our eyes were open and we can see, you know what, hey, basically we chasing our tail. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to accomplish, we're never going to accomplish because it's never going to be ours. But while we're trying to accomplish it, our kids are left to the mercy of the world. Our family structure is left for Lucifer to run rampant through the house. And in the end, what do we end up with? Nothing. When the kids leave home, we pray that, hey, we were nice enough that they'll turn back and talk to us. Go ahead.
Verse 18. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hand to the spindle, and her hand holds the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth it girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in the time to come.
We read earlier about honoring the wife. Strength and honor are her clothing. So where is she getting this strength and this honor from? She's not giving it to herself. Go ahead.
She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
She opens her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. What we get is a lot of mouths being open just to have something to say, just to chitter chatter. Conversations that don't mean anything. Go ahead.
She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness.
That means she ain't sitting around watching TikTok all day? No? That's not what that means?
No.
You would know? Okay. Go ahead.
Her children arise up, and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. That's it.
All right. For the husband to trust safely in his wife, he has to have knowledge of her strength and weaknesses, and likewise she should have knowledge of his. this allowing everyone to know where and how to adjust the weight. For Israel to blossom and bud into a nation once again, we're going to have to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, both physically and spiritually. Genesis 6:3 states, "And Yahweh said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years." Our husband has knowledge of our weakness, so he made temporary adjustments on how long he would have to deal with it. He also knows how to make us weak or strengthen us before the nations. But do we know how to be pleasing unto him?